Imagine achieving your dream, making it all the way to Formula 1, and having to throw it out just because you can't compose yourself and get along with your teammate. Indeed, F1 is a sport where you are in control of your destiny, but if you can't manage to get along with the people within your team, you aren't going to get that far in Formula 1. Esteban Ocon is on the verge of losing his F1 seat, and if he doesn't get his act together soon, there will be no mercy shown. I've had enough of listening to Esteban Ocon complain about how he's never to blame regardless of what happens with his teammates. I don't think I've ever come a driver that's more prone to doing something stupid with his teammates than Esti the Bestie is.
Esti Bestie's on the podium, baby!
Every teammate he has ends up leaving the team overjoyed with the fact that they no longer have to work alongside Esteban Ocon. One time I understand, but driver after driver after driver, there seems to be a common denominator here. In Monaco, we had the last episode in the saga between Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly, which ended up leaving Esteban Ocon sidelined with a damaged car, unable to race, and with the grid penalty for the upcoming Canadian Grand Prix. The team promised that there would be consequences, but does Esteban Ocon deserve these consequences, seeing as he scored basically all of the team's points? Absolutely he does. Let's start back at the Force India days, where a young Esteban Ocon was paired up with Sergio Perez. In 2017, Esteban Ocon was an up-and-coming driver in his second year in Formula 1, and Sergio Perez was in his 6th season already, being considered the veteran within the team. Whenever you have a young, quick driver up against an experienced driver, there is bound to be some sort of tension. Well, these two took it to a whole other level. In Canada, they got into a scrap, then again in Azerbaijan, then again in Hungary, and the same thing happened again in Belgium. Twice. Now, you can say some of these were also Perez's fault, but the way they handle these issues post-race are clearly different. Perez talks about how he protects his line and how Esteban had no space, whereas Ocon talks about how unprofessional Perez is. At this stage in his career, I understand Ocon and don't fault him. He's young, and he has to prove that he belongs in the sport. In 2018, the Force India lineup remained the same and Perez and Ocon were back at it again, making contact on multiple occasions. And arguably the worst incident for Ocon in 2018 was his crash with Max Verstappen in Brazil, when Max was trying to lap Ocon and Ocon clips him attacking on the apex of turn 2. This caused Max, the race leader at the time, to lose out on the victory. Esteban Ocon received a penalty, but it didn't matter at the end of the day as Max didn't end up with the win. They got into it in the paddock, and at the end of the year, after Lawrence Stroll bought the Force India team, Esteban Ocon was left without a drive for 2019. Like I said, as a young driver, I can excuse being overly excited and overly aggressive trying to prove yourself in the new world of Formula 1. But there's a fine line between getting damage every now and then and damaging your teammate and your own car every single race, causing the team millions of dollars and potential points being left on the table as well. Let's say Esteban Ocon was young and he was still learning. And after sitting out for a year, he got paired back at Renault with Daniel Ricciardo. He didn't get into it too badly with Daniel Ricciardo, seeing as Daniel Ricciardo was clearly the veteran driver at that point, and I guess Esteban Ocon was just trying to reprove himself and showing that he did belong in the sport. But after Daniel decided to leave Renault for McLaren, Esteban Ocon was now paired up with two-time world champion Fernando Alonso. Surely this time would be better, right? Guess again. 2021 was a reinvented Renault, now rebranded as Alpine, with Esteban Ocon coming back for another season after 2022 with the team, and they also signed Fernando Alonso. It seemed like a bright future for the team, but oh how wrong they were. 2021 went fairly smoothly between the teammates, and we even got to see Alonso defend like an absolute lion against Hamilton for 10 laps in Hungary, which ultimately helped Ocon bring home his first and only F1 victory. Alonso had a lot of bad luck with the car in 2021, which saw it being the first time he was outscored by his teammate. In 2022, both drivers were back with the team, and this year was a lot more dramatic. Right off the bat, in the second race of the season, we got a massive battle between Ocon and Alonso in Jeddah. They were squeezing each other into the walls, exchanging places back and forth. This was just one of the examples throughout the season. It felt like Ocon's main goal for much of the season wasn't to help the team score points or to get the car as high as possible, but simply to defend against Alonso. Hungary is a prime example of this, where just 1 year ago, Alonso was defending with everything he had so that Ocon could win, and now Ocon was repaying the favor by letting any car pass him as long as it wasn't Alonso himself. The same thing happened again in Brazil, and after that, Alonso had enough. He had some interesting words to say about Ocon. I nearly went onto the wall in Jeddah. I remember also in Budapest and now today, so nothing to talk about. So, it's the way these things are. Sometimes we're very competitive inside the team. It happened to him with Perez, with Verstappen here unlapping himself in 2018, so it's one more race. Alonso was not happy at all with Ocon and couldn't wait to be out of that team after the final race in Abu Dhabi. After not one, but two failed teammates, you would think that the smart thing to do was to bring in somebody that could get along well with Esteban Ocon if they insisted on keeping him. Well, actually, Alpine decided to do the exact opposite and bring in Pierre Gasly, another French driver who has known Esteban Ocon since they were children, and they have hated each other ever since. For the past 2 seasons, they have gone into countless battles, causing the team millions and millions and millions in damage. The latest episode, their contact in Monaco, was so stupid that I would have told both of them right then that if they don't get their act together, they're both gone. 2023 and 2024 were full of surprises between Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly, two drivers that hate each other. These two drivers hated each other even before they were on the same team being teammates, so I don't even know how Alpine thought this would even remotely be a good idea. They pulled off some of the dumbest incidents I've ever seen while being paired together. Some quick examples of this are Australia in 2023, which stupidly cost the team a lot of points. Another more recent example of this is the last race we had in Monaco, where Ocon decided to go for a ridiculous lunge on Gasly on the first lap of the race, which ultimately ended up ending his own race. Gasly and the Alpine team were so furious with Esteban Ocon that there were even reports circulating that he would be dropped for the Canadian Grand Prix. Obviously, this was a little radical, but the idea behind it wasn't bad at all. I personally would have loved to see Ocon get a huge fine and a long ban just to prove that he can't go against the team and do whatever he wants whenever he wants to. Thousands of people work long hours just to provide him with a car that hopefully can get him into the points, and he throws it all away because he feels like fighting with his teammate. That is in no way okay. Time and time again, Esteban Ocon focuses on fighting and defending against his teammate rather than helping each other get the team into the best possible point scoring position they can. This is extremely off-putting to any team really, and just earlier this week, Alpine announced that they would be parting ways with Esteban Ocon at the end of this season. I think this may be part of the reason why Alpine weren't too harsh on Esteban Ocon for his latest incident. And to top it off, the fact that they just now decided to implement a no aggression pact between these two drivers is completely stupid because they could have avoided the past 2 seasons of these two drivers hitting each other like a bunch of bananas. If I were team principal at Alpine, I would have done exactly what Mercedes did back in the day with Rosberg and Hamilton and force both Gasly and Ocon to pay any damages that they may cause to the car, and then watch how they'll make sure to stay clear of each other. Maybe then the drivers would actually somehow respect each other and focus more on the good of the team rather than themselves. I'm sure that no matter where Esteban Ocon ends up going next year, that is if he gets a seat, it won't take long before he gets into some kind of trouble with his teammate there as well. I'm not going to sit here and tell him how to do his job, but I think he'd have a lot more luck with his F1 career if he would try to get along with his teammate for once instead of the crap he's been pulling over the past couple seasons. What do you guys think? Is Esteban Ocon really that bad of a teammate, or are we just over-exaggerating? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and if you did enjoy this video, please make sure to give it a like and share it with your friends. As always, make sure to subscribe, and see you guys next week. Bye.